What is your best Dungeons and Dragons story? Part 3. If you have missed part 1 and 2, I will leave a link in the description, but they are in no particular order. I am new to playing Dungeons and Dragons and my husband is the dungeon master. He allows a bunch of stuff simply to keep me and the other girls interested, so we will want to keep playing. So I am a druid, and we were all exploring a cave. We came across a giant eyeball monster, so I asked, given an eyeball is made of water, how many gallons of water do you think he has? I dunno. 10. I want to use my destroy water spell to suck all the water out and dehydrate him. I'll allow it. It's either the time one of my players basically conquered an entire town with sex or the time me taking a piss was critical to the campaign. Probably the latter. I was tying up this one dude since he attempted and failed to ambush me. I decided to resort to torture to find out why. First I ripped out some of his toenails to no avail. Then I took a piss on him, also to no avail. I decided to consult my party about what to do next. As we were speaking, he managed to get away. So, one of my teammates, who had an acute sense of smell, used the smell of urine that was on him to track him down to a thieves' hideout. I was DM for my first and only Dungeons and Dragons game. I, of course, had no idea what I was doing, and not being bothered by official campaigns, I decided to create a short branching story using the provided map for reference. We mostly winged it. Started with a package being delivered by caravan on a country road. Two players decided to be raiders. The other decided to be a monk, who had hitched a ride with the caravan. One thing led to another and the ragtag group stole and then finished delivering the package, which was an artifact that housed the soul of a dead god. The owner of the package turns out to be an evil necromancer. They thwarted the necromancer. And in a beautiful turn of events, one decided to attempt to finish off the dead god, and proceeded to smash the artifact against the ground, which released the soul and brought about an apocalypse. I was proud. One of my friends would secretly hand notes for his turn with what he did so we couldn't see. Half of our team was mysteriously killed by a shadow figure. This went on for months until we realized he was the only one with his original character and has been committing the murders. We got a good chuckle out of it. One of my cousins had a background as a rogue and repeatedly tried to commit burglary. His brother's character was a mid-ranking official in the town watch. The competitive dynamic actually worked pretty well. In my current campaign I'm a half-elf mage. We also have a paladin with a bow, your guess is as good as mine, ranger, fighter, and a cleric. We had to fight a massive demon. As soon as we entered the room he roared and roasted us with fire. I went from 28 HP to 4, and hauled us to the end of the room, 50 by 100 feet wide. Everyone was locked in combat while I shot it with spells from afar. The ranger was fighting it hand to hand, and it knocked his sword out of his hand, which flew 20 feet away. So the ranger started sprinting towards it and the demon swooped down. He could fly, to grab it. Ranger passed the dex roll and managed to get it and made a glorious jump swing and cut the demon mid-flight, killing it. I then had to make a dex save as a giant demon body came crashing down in my direction and barely made it out of the way as its horns pierced the wall. Okay, my best D&D story is this. Should mention that this was a 3.5 homebrew campaign that I jumped in the middle of. Background info is that it takes place in the Forgotten Realms setting. Campaign is that we are a party being rewarded by a faction of devils to undermine demonkind in the Blood War, being sent on certain missions to accomplish this. I dropped in as a halfling rogue named Rouge. I was pressed for time and character creation, as another player left the game. There were a couple of other characters, namely a tiefling bard obsessed with killing demons and super greedy when he wasn't doing that, a pacifist paladin, and Dumbus elf fighter mage type, and me. The Sword Dungeon's Masterage had a habit of searching rooms and rolling natural ones. The first time he did this, the Dungeon Master decided to throw in a lime green ring that, when the Sword Dungeon Masterage put it on, turned him into a frog. The tiefling offered to cast Remove Curse in exchange for all of the elf's gold, and the frog agreed. Upon getting his gold though, the bard also cast an amnesia spell, and removed all memory of the past few minutes from the elf, throwing away the ring afterwards and moving on. The ring would appear 3 more times and the same event unfolded until the tiefling decided to keep the ring instead of tossing it, planning for shenanigans yet to be decided on. Now, after a sabotage mission, we used a random teleportation circle to escape a demonic tower we just rigged to explode. We fell into the middle of the ocean and almost drowned until the bard remembered he had a wand of water breathing buried in his endless bag of magic items he made and collected. We floated down and fell into an air bubble containing a city populated by aquatic elves. While negotiating a return back to the mainland, the tiefling noticed a 10-foot tall statue of an elven hero made entirely of platinum. Being the greedy shit he was, he conspired to steal it, but lugging a 10-foot tall statue made out of anything, let alone solid metal, was a tall order. In what was more of a joke than anything, he tried the green ring on the finger of the statue and sure enough, it turned into a slightly larger than normal platinum frog. Quickly stuffing it in his bag of holding, he joined us on the way back to our employers with none the wiser, and promptly forgot about it completely. His inventory was like 3 pages long, so he rarely knew what all he had, and frequently forgot loot he collected and intended to sell. Fast forward a bit, and while fighting some demons, we uncover an ancient artifact that was essentially a portal gun. Blue portal at will, orange portal once a week. Blue needed to be within line of sight, while orange could appear anywhere, in any plane we wanted. Fast forward again, and after stealing the heart of the abyss, the lowest layer, and teleporting it to our employers, we returned to discover that the devils we were working for wanted the heart as a bargaining chip to organize an alliance with the demons. Stop the blood war and help us take over the material plane, and we'll give the heart back, along with the stuff Asmodeus owned that contained part of the seed that the abyss grew from, the theft of which was the main reason for the blood war in the first place. Now, their plan for conquering the world, and later, the outer planes and the realms of the gods, was to use the portals that spanned across the whole universe. There was a demi-plane that was normally inaccessible that is essentially the switchboard for all portals, and within it, a keystone that powered them all. Our plan was then to destroy the keystone so they couldn't use the portals to conquer all of reality at once, and locking all outsiders out of the material plane for a time, until a proper defense could be mounted. The dungeon's master intended us to use the portal gun artifact to portal the keystone into the plane of fire or something similar to destroy it instantly. We were far too dumb to realize that though, so when we saw the keystone guarded by a number of demons and the archdevil Mephistopheles, I had the stupidest idea ever. My rogue was built for deception and had full ranks and bluff as well as tons of magic items and such to reinforce it. She was also a really vulgar character. I had her douse herself in assorted alcohol from her collection of booze and stumble in, walking right up to the Lord of the 8th Hell, and told him I got lost looking for a party and asked for some help finding it. Imagine this, you're a being of unimaginable power in the middle of a demiplane so secret that only a small handful of mortals know it exists, that can only be teleported to with a special ritual lost to time, and a drunk hobbit wanders up to you and your small army and asks for directions to a random tavern. Needless to say, the DC for this bluff check was unbelievably high, but as it would turn out, would end up being hard for me to fail. I built my whole character around lying her ass off. So I nail the first check and manage to confuse him. Rather than strike me dead on the spot, he believes me and is intently curious as to how a drunken mortal could stumble into such a secret and warded location. For the several rounds I'm bluffing or flirting my ass off, because of course, my party is sneaking around. Unfortunately, the pally's heavy armor isn't good for sneaking and she fails a check right when they're about to reach the keystone and stab it or something I guess. I kinda wandered out before the plan was finalized. Or agreed upon. Anyways, upon seeing the intruders, Mephistopheles turns back to me with murder in his eyes. Until I manage to convince him that I'm totally not with those guys for another couple of rounds, saving the rest of the party from fighting against an archdevil like 20 levels too high for them for a small while. Eventually, Mephistopheles wises up and decides to kill me, but my crazy high dex and AC boosting items means even he has trouble hitting me for 2 rounds before he one-hit knockouts me. Totally worth it though. Turning to the rest, he sees the rest of his demon troops slain with only one party member alive, the tiefling bard. Charging towards the bard portals the archdevil to the plane of negative energy and prepares his next move. Unfortunately, Mephistopheles knows plane shift at will and is back in a round and charges again. But the bard is ready, having looked at his list of items and found one thing that he thinks may help as his last ditch effort. A certain platinum frog. Having readied his action, he makes a throwing action at the devil, holding onto the ring. Cursed items cannot be removed, and thus the ring held tight to the frog, casting remove curse at the apex of his throw, with a 10-foot tall platinum statue appearing traveling at the same velocity as thrown by a tiefling with a belt of titan strength. All that momentum slams into the devil, who gets stunned for a single round. The bard runs up and attempts to grapple and slip the ring on the devil's finger. A success. The bard now held a large, angry, horned demon frog. Hear his croaks of anger. But alas, Mephistopheles had a contingency spell set up, which was almost certainly the dungeon master pulling it out of his ass if he was incapacitated. A sort of time reversal spell that forces all rolls in the previous round to be re-rolled and their new values taken instead. A re-roll was ordered for the grapple and natural 1. The bard fumbles and slips the ring on his own finger, transforming at the worst possible time. The devil, shaking himself off, gave the frog eternal life as a reward for almost defeating him, and fused his frog body to the keystone, casting a spell of eternal fire as punishment for defying him and causing the frog bard eternal agony. The Devil Demon Alliance then promptly conquered the universe. A loss, but what a game. Okay, so this comes from my 4th DnD game ever, with the preceding 3 all being miserable failures. The game was being run by my good friend and relatively new dungeon master at the time, with me and one other player, also a close friend of mine. We were playing in 3.5 as a sacrilegious wizard trying to ascend to godhood, me, and a rogue essentially looking for the One Ring friend. The game was kind of a shit show from the start. Our party comp, the inexperience of our dungeons master and some really crazy rolls decision making lead to some wild early encounters and fuckery, but the pinnacle came in the capital city of our dungeon master's mage faction. I end up imprisoned by the mages for being a rogue wizard, and my buddy bails on me because he didn't want to deal with no fancy spellcasters. So for a good third of the session I'm sitting in a cell desperately concocting an escape plan without my spellbook, and the rogue is running around having adventures with the local thieves guild. Eventually I convince the mages I want to join them and paralyze my chaperone, and he double crosses the thieves guild after they hire him to steal some scrolls or some shit from the mages tower, and we run into each other in a hallway in the tower. We get railroaded to this big spooky door with a serpent over it that the dungeon master is trying to force us into. I roll arcane knowledge on the symbol, crit, ancient deity of deception and traps. Fuck that. Rogue rolls to find another door, crits, secret door, rolls detect traps, crits, there's a trap, fuck that door too. He rolls to find another hidden door, crits again. Dungeon master is visibly angry, finally gives us a third door leading to a hidden treasury, forgets we have a bag of holding. We fill up on loot and hear guards outside. They think there's someone in the treasury and say they're gonna activate the sterilizer. Fuck this shit, we kick open the door and throw the guards into the room, sterilize it, fire everywhere. Guards are on our tail now, we get cornered at a window 10 stories up. Well gents, this is where it ends. Rogue tells me to hold my breath and get in the bag. I do exactly that. Turns out he's got a ring of feather full. We land in the lake and he's got 5 minutes to swim to shore and dump me out before I die. We make it with seconds to spare, but oh shit, there's a big Iasuran looking motherfucker up on top of the tower looking for us now. I find out it's abducting anyone who's got a magical aura on them. I have an ancient necromantic tome in my bag. Ah shit. Rogue gets chased away by a barbarian whose wife was defiled by the rogue earlier in the session. I'm left on my own. I almost make it to the gates of the city when the eye comes within a couple feet of me, so I cast greater invisibility on a random pedestrian and run to the gate. The eye picks up the pedestrian and I meet the rogue in the woods a day later. His bag is filled with hundreds of thousands of gold in magical items and treasure. We KO the big bad 2 sessions later with our arsenal of god items.